Hi. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creating and Using Dashboards for PC users. And I'd like to say thanks, Linda, for that introduction. And I'd be remiss if I did not introduce Gabriel Hart, our Excel macro expert, who is here to help and really take over the technical side of this presentation when we talk about the macros in a little bit. And I'd like to thank you all for being here on this Thursday afternoon. I don't know if you're all having a little technical difficulty. I am, but we'll work through this. Now, as educators, there are times when we will need to produce reports with identical information. And this can be weekly or quarterly reports that we send home to parents. And these can also be similar reports for each student in your class. During this webinar, I'm going to demonstrate how to automate these reports using Microsoft Word and Excel, so things that you already have on your computer. The goals for today's webinar are really an introduction to dashboards, and really what I'm hoping is you will understand some of the basic dashboard design principles and how to apply them to create a dashboard for your own use. We're also going to talk about the automation process, and I will give you a demonstration of this automation process. And it's a four-step process, and we will learn how to use the tools, automation tools available in MS Word and Excel to produce these multiple dashboards efficiently. Now, this includes understanding how to organize and merge data from Excel into a Word template. Now, the first thing I'd like to do is ask a question of you and to find out your level of experience using Word and Excel. So if you could take a moment to just respond to this poll. There are two poll items, and we can move on. So it seems that we have some advanced users with respect to using Microsoft Word. And we also have people with some experience with respect to using Microsoft Excel, to using charts. So as we go through this here, we're going to really talk about the tools in Word and Excel. But don't worry if you don't have a lot of experience. We provide resources for you at the end. We're not really going to go into detail about creating charts. We're just hoping you have that experience. And we're going to provide some information for you, a resource afterward that you can go to. Now, before we begin, just a reminder that this webinar is designed for those with some experience using Word and Excel. So we're hoping that you are able to build tables in Word, and for many of you, you have that experience in Word, so we're happy about that, and also in creating charts in Excel or Word. The other thing that I want to stress is that the dashboard that we are creating is not for the internet. This is a paper and pencil dashboard. It's really an automation, an automated report. So we're not going to talk about HTML here today. That would be something completely different. The other thing I just want to stress is that the examples, the screenshots, the demonstration videos that I'll be sharing with you today are for PC users, but the macro that is in the resources to download, the REL project Excel file, that is usable on both a PC or a Mac. So if you're a Mac user, feel free to sit in and enjoy the webinar. But we have one coming up in November 20th, that will deal specifically with Excel, with Mac users. So just wanted to put that out there, that everything you'll see here today is really geared for the PC user. Now let's talk a little bit about dashboards. Some of you may be wondering, what is a dashboard? And the best way to think about it is just think about your car, the dashboard that's in your car. There are several gauges and displays that give important information about your vehicle. You have your speedometer, tells you how fast you're going, your fuel gauge, lets you know, do you need to stop and gas up, and the ever important check engine light, because we don't want to be stranded anywhere. So these gauges are designed to report what is going on right now in your car. Now, we can create comparable dashboards in education, presenting key pieces of information, be it achievement, assessment information, attendance, behavioral. Now, dashboards are typically thought of in terms of online displays of information. And you probably have seen those at the U.S. Department of Education. They have a big data dashboard with multiple sources of data. We're not going to be doing that here today. We're really going to focus on more of a paper version. So reports that you have that you may have to submit to your principal or send home to parents. Now, private sector companies often use expensive, specialized software to create dashboards. You know, some school districts are fortunate enough to have that. But I'm going to demonstrate how to create these cost-effective dashboards by using software that most of you already have, Microsoft Word and Excel. Now, data dashboards, they're also known as scorecards, are more of a new concept in education. You've probably seen this on your banking website, your insurance website. We've seen it in the business industry. Now we're pulling it into the education industry. And it basically is just another tool in your data analytics toolbox. You have the expertise in assessment, and here's just a way of displaying data. So it can allow you to improve student performance, increase your effectiveness, manage your operations if you're a principal or someone who is a district superintendent or district leader. And really, the most important thing that we can do with a dashboard is communicate results to our students and to our parents. Now, why would you be interested in using data dashboards? Think about all the data that you encounter in your jobs on a daily basis. We have a lot of achievement data. You have quizzes. You have maybe observations, performance assessments. You also have progress monitoring. If you're working in a response to intervention with some students with disabilities, you have that data that you work with. When you're working with your students, you also have behavioral data. You know, how are they behaving in class? You have attendance data. You have a lot of things that you have to be cognizant of and aware of at all times. Now, we have all this data, and there's that terminology that we hear a lot of, data-driven decision-making. It's not something that's new to teachers. We've been doing this for years. You have been doing data-driven decision-making. We just never called it that. We just called it doing our job. Now, what do we use this for? We plan instruction. We evaluate student learning. We can assess what they're learning, and we can show demonstration of student progress toward goals. It also helps teachers to plan instruction. Are our students getting it? Do we have to go back and cover that topic one more time? So data dashboards have been used by teachers in the K through 12 setting to assist with this data-driven decision-making. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics of how to make decisions with data. Really, the purpose of this webinar is to provide you with a tool that can help you generate a report, an automated report. So that is what we're going to focus on today. But I'd like to just share with you this IES practice guide It's called Using Student Achievement Data to Support Instructional Decision-Making, and it provides more information on the data-driven decision-making process. It gives recommendations, 5 recommendations actually, to help with data-driven decision-making. And there's the link to the report, and you will find that also in the PowerPoint presentation under Dashboard Resources to download. And we also have a presentation of this practice guide on the REL Mid-Atlantic website. It's in the events archive. We did a bridge event, this was last year, on data-driven decision-making and this practice guide. So for those of you who are interested, you know, please visit our REL Mid-Atlantic website at the end of this webinar. So here are some progress reports that we typically see as educators. Maybe you've created some of these. You probably have some in your folders at work or on your home computer. But just to show you that this is how we usually measure how our students are doing, and this is what we send home to them. But now, think about this for those of you who may be teaching many students. You may have a classroom full of 30, and you may teach 5 classes of 30, so there's 150 students that you need to populate a progress report for. Maybe you do this quarterly. For those of you who are overly ambitious, you may do this weekly or monthly. Now, what if I were to tell you that I can give you a tool today that will help you populate these kinds of reports, these progress reports, quickly and efficiently, and we can do, let's say we have 21 reports that we need to make. If I told you that we can make 21 progress reports in less than a minute, would you be interested? Now let me share this with you. So now Sharon's going to pull up our demonstration, and I'll talk you through this. I can show you our automation process in action. So here is a report. This is a progress report, a monthly progress report that we have for our students. And you can see in this progress report that there's probably about 15 data elements, I would say, at this point. Yeah, it looks like 15 data elements. Is it running for everybody? I hope it's working. Sharon, is it running?
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Okay, because I can't see it. Well, I'll talk you through it. So we have 15 pieces of data that need to be included in each of the reports. And typically, what would you do? If you look at the Excel spreadsheet, you would be copying and pasting the data into the report, and that would be very tedious, very time-consuming. Now, by looking in that completed dashboards folder, there are no reports, and what happens is instead of doing the copying and pasting, you clicked on that Create Reports Data Dashboards button, and the automation process is going to do the work for us. So as it's progressing, you will see that the reports will start to fill in to the folder. They will be there. And it's pretty neat because you can go through and see all of this automation, and it will have all your data pieces. So by using bookmarks in Word and VBA code, which is Visual Basic for Applications code in Excel, it's copying and pasting the data for you into the report. And it can generate 21 reports per minute, and that's really not bad. And that speed will vary depending on the computer that you have, depending on the speed of your computer. So it has it, because I can't see, I'm working blind today, everyone. I apologize for that. I cannot see the screen. So hopefully it has, it's worked. And Are we done? Did it run all the way that anyone could see this?
Rose, I just switched over to the other layout. Can you see anything on the screen?
I see nothing.
All right,
So I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. And I have it on 2 computers, so.
let me try something here. I might be able to fix it for you.
All right, I hope so, because I feel bad. Everyone, it's the wonders of technology.
How about now?
I see the slide, demonstration 1, the automation process.
Okay.
Okay, Beverly said we only saw the folder of reports and its progress as it populated. So you would see in the folder the list of names. We didn't open up the actual reports as of this point, but we will. We'll show you those in a little bit. So for those of you who were able to see the demonstration process, is this something that you'd be interested in? What are some of the ways that you could use a dashboard within your classroom? Now, please check all that apply. And for those of you who may be district level superintendents or researchers who have joined our webinar today, you know, this is the 7th time we've done the Data Dashboards webinar series, and the ones from last year pertain to district and SEA types of uses, so reports on district schools and such. So hopefully that would help you for those of you in that area. So people have interest. Hooray, I'm glad you're here. So before we get started, I'm going to move on. Thank you, Sharon. Please make sure, if you haven't done this already, please download our resources. We've got the Excel file that contains the macro, and we have the REL project.x, that's our Word template. But one thing that we just want to stress is you don't need the Word document to use this macro. You can use any document that you have. Really, we're going to talk about that right now, that you can use anything that you have and it can become a dashboard. And true dashboard enthusiasts would say, that's really not a dashboard. A dashboard is fluid, it's live. Well, yeah, we're taking a little liberty with the word dashboard, but it really is an automated report, and you can update this as often as you need to. And it allows you, by adding bookmarks into your Word document, you can make this a fluid document, something that you can continuously use. Now let's talk about this very first step in the automation process, designing your dashboard model. Now this is your dashboard. You can do whatever you want to it. It can look any way that you want it to look. It can also be something that you've been using for years. Maybe in your school there's a certain progress report that needs to go home weekly or biweekly to parents and guardians. So you can use that to do to do the automation process. The important thing really is to display the data in a meaningful way. So when we're designing a model, what we're talking about is we're really just starting with a blank page and we fill it in with data. You can use whatever you have. So if you have a report that you've been sending home, you can use it. That can be your model. Or if you want to create something, whatever you do, make it your own. You don't have to follow our specific, it needs to look like this with charts, because you may not be sending charts home to parents, but you might. So what do we need to do to create this dashboard? Well, first thing you need to think about is, why are you creating this? Why are you creating this report? What's the purpose? That's going to really dictate what information you're going to put into the report. And you also need to think about your audience. This determines the information that gets included in the dashboards. You know, what do you want to send home to the parents? Is this a dashboard for your students? This may be something that you think about. What do you want to include? A good dashboard focuses on the most important information, and communicates it very clearly and concisely. That's the important thing about a dashboard. You want them to see it and know what information is there. It tells its story on its own. Now, what data would you like to include? So here you can pick. We have a tremendous amount of data in the field of education that we see in our classrooms every day. So decide what's important to you. Do you want to send home an attendance report? Is that important to you? Then add the information. Do you want to send home a progress report on homework? Number of completed assignments, number late, number missing. These are the things that you can include in your report. Remember, it's yours. Make it your own. You can do whatever you want. Now that you thought about the type of data that you want to include, you need to determine what the dashboard's going to look like. So how is it going to look visually? Decide on a layout. How many pages do you want it to have? With a dashboard, you want to keep it to 1 to 2 pages, 2 pages at the most. Are you going to break it into sections? What the video you saw, the examples, it was broken out into sections. That's how we use tables, just to structure the report. It just keeps it clean. Will it include any tables? Just a table of data. That may be something you want to include. Will it include any charts? Maybe it will if you're working with something like reading. You're working with students and maybe some kind of progress monitoring, and you're working with your students and you're looking at sight words. Maybe you want to show the number of sight words if it's improving over the week. So those are kinds of things that you can do. And we can provide sample templates for preschool, elementary school, middle school, high school, you name it, they're out there. You can take any kind of Word document and really make it your own dashboard. And just to let you know, there are some do's and don'ts of dashboard design, and I've included in the resources a slide at the presentation at the end of the webinar. You can go to that and it'll talk a little bit about maximizing data ink ratio, really put important key information, make it stand out, bold, font, color, those kinds of things. But there's really no right or wrong way. There's just like some helpful suggestion guidelines to make it effective. Do you have any questions about data dashboard design? If you have them, please feel free to ask. We'll really get into the heart of the automation process next, but if you have any questions on dashboard design, please feel free. I don't think we have any questions on dashboard design. Okay, so that's pretty clear. Thank you, and we'll move on to creating the Word template. Now with the Word template, basically adding bookmarks. That's what we're doing here. And when we're creating our Word template, it's the start of the automation process. So this is where it gets fun. Now, this is our model dashboard that we saw earlier. And we see that it's a progress report. And the first step was designing your model, what you want it to look like. And so this may be our model. We like this. And you can see that we have, I'm going to use my little cursor here, see if it's working. See, it's not working for me. I'm having technical difficulties. I apologize, everyone. So here we have different information in tables. So this is the structure of the table. So you have one large table that is in a darker shade of gray that has our student's name. And we've got, the grade. So this is more of the averages. So we have more classwork average grades up front. And then we have a box, another, like a table cell with attendance data. We have classroom behavior data. And then we felt like putting in a chart that shows quiz grades. So these are the weekly quizzes, and you can see the progress along that. So that's what we wanted it to look like. This model dashboard, a template. One thing you would need to do is really print out your report, your model report, model dashboard, and you can either circle or highlight the key pieces of data that need to be changed within each report. And this is the data that will be filled in by your Excel data file. These data elements are going to become bookmarks in the Word document, and we're going to show you how to do that shortly. And each bookmark is a field, and your template will know exactly where to put the data, where to populate. And I don't know, I wish I had this poll question, hindsight. Like, how many of you have used a mail merge in Microsoft Word? You have address labels, you maybe have the addresses in Excel, and then you pull them in. I like to refer to this as a mail merge on steroids. It's the same idea as a mail merge because you take data from Excel columns and you drop it into a Word document. So it's just a really jazzed up mail merge. Now, before you can even insert bookmarks into your Word document, you first have to show the bookmarks in Word. That's not a default setting, so you need to do that. So if you go to the File tab and you click the File tab, click on your File tab and you go to Options. Then you will have another pop-up menu come out, and you select Advanced. So once you click the Advanced tab, so first step to get it to display bookmarks in Word, select the File tab, click on Options. It opens the Word Options dialog box, and then you click on Advanced. Once you do that, another box is going to pop up, and if you scroll down, you'll see Show Bookmarks. All you need to do is click that box, and you'll be able to see bookmarks in Word. Now, for some people, they say to me, well, if I open up this REL project doc, I don't see any bookmarks. Well, we need to add those. So this is like one of those working hands-on activities. So the first thing we need to do is show our bookmarks in the document. So it's your turn now. Make your bookmarks visible in Word. Click on the File tab, select Word Options, go to Advanced, and select Show Bookmarks. So once you get that done, you should be able to see bookmarks in Word. So it's just that process. So if you can do those 4 steps for me, it's also in the Creating and Using Automated Dashboards handout. So if I move on, you can still go back in. The instructions will be there. So once you have inserted bookmarks, you will see brackets where your data points will be. And you can replace text with a bookmark by highlighting the text. So you see student name, it was highlighted, and if you highlight and then insert bookmark, it will bracket that data. So it knows to insert the student name in that spot. You can also insert a bookmark before or after a data element. Sometimes we like to create like a little placeholder, like current grade in class, so we know that that's where we want to put the data. So when you click on that section at the end of current grade in class, you can insert your bookmark. And it'll show up, it looks like an I, but it's really the brackets brought together. So that's just showing you where those brackets are. That's where the data is going to be placed from the Excel file. Gabriel, did I explain that right? Pretty simple.
That was perfect, Rose. Perfect.
Thanks, Gabriel. So now let's show you how to do this, how to add bookmarks. So to add bookmarks in Word, the first thing you need to do is select the Insert tab, and it's circled. It's highlighted in red there. And then you would select on that Links tab bookmarks. So once you do that, a bookmark dialog box will pop up. And you can see here, there are all of our bookmark names. They're ready. You know, we already have them inserted. So how do we add bookmarks in Word in the document? First, click where you want to insert your bookmark. On the Insert tab in the Links group, click on Bookmark. Under Bookmark Name, you type the name that you want, and then you click Add. So right now, I'd like to show you a demonstration on how to insert a bookmark, and I hope it works for me. So when you want to insert a bookmark into a Word document, put the insertion tool where you want it to be. And in this case, I'm not seeing my video again, so I'll just talk you through it. You can select or highlight the text and then that you want to bookmark. Then you click on that Insert tab and click on the bookmark icon, and then you'll give the bookmark a name. So the first one that we did is student name. We highlight Jennifer LSEO, and then what we do is we just call it name. We highlight the current grade, and we call this grade, and you write down the name. Now, what I suggest for people when you're doing bookmarks is really to write down all the bookmarks as you go along, so you have the same bookmark name in your Word document that you do in your Excel file. Now, for some of you, you may have your Excel file already set up. You may have an Excel file in mind with different data points. As long as you take the label for the column in the Excel file, whatever your data piece is, make sure that it matches with your bookmark name. Because I can attest that if it is misspelled, if there's a space where it doesn't belong, if it's not exact, it will not work. And Gabriel can attest to this, that I called him and said, or emailed him and said, Gabriel, it's not working. And he looked at it and said, yeah, your bookmark doesn't match your Excel file. So learn from my mistake. Make sure that they match. It'll make your life so much easier. Okay, Sharon, we'll go to the next slide, please. Are we on the next slide? Yeah, I apologize for this, everyone. I really am having some technical difficulty today. So once we insert our bookmarks in our Word document, the next thing that we need to do is save it as a Word template file. It's a .x file, and all you need to do is, when you're saving as, just click that little drop-down menu and find Word template, and that'll save as your template from the drop-down menu. One thing that we always encourage for our participants in this webinar is after you save your Word template file, make sure you close it out, because you're going to get to do this whole step-by-step process together today. So just make sure that you close that out. Do you have any questions about inserting bookmarks? And Gabriel, get ready. They may be asking you.
I'm ready.
Did you show us how to link to Excel, or is that coming up? Beverly, that's coming up. How do you delete one that you no longer want? Well, you can just go in on that same pop-up screen where you have bookmarks, where you were naming your bookmarks, you can delete a bookmark. So if you were to open up your Word file and you go to the Insert tab, Bookmarks, there's Add, Delete, and then Go To. You can just delete it. It sounds very similar to mail merge in some ways. It is. How do they differ, Gabriel, a mail merge and our macro?
There's a few benefits here. A mail merge is really good if it's straight text. This one allows you to actually insert things like charts and tables and things like that. A lot of ways you could do a mail merge with this, but this one provides a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more ease of use as far as setting up your data and everything in Excel. And then, if people are familiar with the automation process, it allows for a lot more customization versus a mail merge.
Thanks, Gabriel. Did you start with a blank document? And do you save as a Word doc once bookmarks and Excel links are populated? Once it becomes populated, it will automatically be a Word document. When you are just saving the template file, that's where it is the .x file. Other than that, when it gets populated, it shows up as a Word document. Are there requirements for how you name a bookmark? Can you use spaces, dashes, whatever in the name? I believe you can. Where's the one exception in the macro? It's with respect to charts, Gabriel. It needs to be a chart underscore.
That's right. And I think we'll cover that when we get to the Excel portion of it. As far as the bookmarks in Word, I'm pretty sure you can use spaces. I'm not too sure about punctuation. But as you go in and you try to add your bookmark, then Microsoft Word should tell you if it's okay or not. If Microsoft Word accepts it, then it should be okay for the automation process.
Yeah, I agree with Matthew. I think you cannot use spaces. I think I made that mistake once, and it yelled at me. It wouldn't let me do it. So thank you, Matthew, and thank you, everyone, for your questions. And now we are going to let you do it. So if you can open up that Word template file, the one that we provided under the Data Dashboards Resources to Download, the relproject.x, and it's just 6 data elements. And if you can just go in and add bookmarks. So the bookmark names should be listed, they're listed at the end. So for student name, just type in name for that bookmark. Class participation is PARTIC. So it's just in red. So that's just basically what you'll need to do to add the bookmark. So it's your turn. So we'll give you some time to work on that, and then we'll move on. And are you going to play some music for us, Sharon? So I'm going to let them all work. Give you about 3-4 minutes to do this. Hello again, everyone. I hope you were able to work through and insert those bookmarks. Will had a question. I wonder how the chart spacing was set up. That was set up, I created a separate table for the chart and just tabs. So just by using a tab, that's how I created it in that setup in the Word document. So that's why we recommend people knowing how to play around in Word. Are you ready to work with some data to go into Excel? Let's work with Excel data. Now we set up our Word document. It's time to get the Excel file ready. Now to run the Excel macro, what you're going to need to do is have 4 Excel worksheets. And here you could see that there is a setup sheet, there is a data sheet, there's a chart sheet, and there's a code info sheet. And we're going to go into more detail with each sheet. So let's get started with the setup sheet. And someone asked, well, when are we going to learn how to tie our bookmarks in with our Excel file? And this is where you do it. You get it done on the setup sheet. So we have a setup sheet that you create that has 3 columns. And you can see that column A contains your bookmark name. Now, once again, be sure that it is identical to the bookmark name in the Word template. And if any of them are misspelled, the code will not work. Trust me, I've been there. Column B contains the column number of the dashboard data. And I know people say, well, can't you just use A, B, C, what the columns are labeled in Excel? Well, it's a quirk of the macro. It's how the macro was written. And column C will contain a short description of the bookmark. Now, this column is not necessary for the macro to run. I'll tell you that right now, but it is good to keep track of what data the bookmark represents because many of us may have something that's test or grade. You want to have a little more detail to that. We don't want to have a very long bookmark name, so you can use like a similar bookmark name. Just write it in the description. And you can see on the setup sheet that we have our bookmark names. You see chart _ homework is in column 16 of our Excel data file, our data worksheet. And it's the homework chart. And you can see that CP is class participation, and we find the data in column 7. And so here's our data sheet. I hope you can see it. And what we have here are the first 3 rows. These are headers for the data. And you can see that in row 1, that's your bookmark name. Row 2, that is the description. So you can see student name for column 1. And then row 3 has the column number. And then we have our data. So these are all our data points. That's going to be inserted into our Word document. And the first row of data starts on row 4. This is very important to keep in mind when we get to our sheets. When we get down to sheet number 4, the code info sheet, you want to remember where it starts. Are the bookmark names case sensitive? I learned this the hard way. It was. For some reason with the macro, it is. It's case sensitive. So thanks for asking, Beverly.
They have to be exactly the same.
Yes, exactly. So if you have grade with a capital G, make sure it's the same way in your Word template. So moving on. Data sheet compared to the setup sheet. So you have your data sheet. And here, let's see. Let's look at quiz. So you have quiz average. Its name is quiz. That's the bookmark name. It's also the name of the data element, quiz. There it is on row 15 of the setup sheet. The data are found in row 4, or column 4, I mean. There it is, column 4. And then average, that's just the description, quiz average. Now we're going to give you a chance to complete the setup sheet. So if you can open up that REL project.xlsm and fill in the bookmark name and the column, so columns 1 and 2, and column is the number where the data are located, and just we'll give you some time to work on that. And just a little quick hint to that, if you know how to transpose data, copy and transpose, you'll be able to knock that out in very quickly. Correct, Gabriel? Isn't that the easy way to do it?
Yeah, that's the easiest way.
The easy way to do it. So
A shortcut.
That's a shortcut. That's a shortcut for those who have the Excel background. So we'll give you a little bit of time. What do you think? About 3 minutes to do this? 4 minutes? We'll give you 4 minutes, and Sharon will play some work music for you. Hello again, everyone. I hope that you were able to complete this task. So we've inserted bookmarks into our Word document, and now you've set up your setup sheet in your Excel file. So we're getting ready to hit that Create Reports button. We're almost there. So let's keep moving on, and we're just going to talk about charts right now, the chart sheet. This is the third sheet in your Excel file that we provided for you. And you can create charts to be inserted into your Word document, and this is the place where you do it. And you'll want to create your charts before running the macro, before running the code, as charts typically need some adjustment, like resizing fonts for readability. And you know, sometimes in Excel, the charts are pretty big, so if you try to insert that into your document, it would be too big and just unwieldy. So, you know, make sure that you edit your charts, and hopefully, you know, if you still need help with creating charts in Excel, you can go to that tutorial that we provide in the resources at the end of the webinar today. Now, chart names need to be unique. That's a really important thing for this process to work. Now, you're trying to insert charts into each of your progress reports. And each chart, when it's created, has its own unique name. And you can see that up in the top of the slide here. Maybe let's see if my green arrow works. Yay, it's working. So here it is. You can see that this is chart number 23, this chart down here. So that's going to be your chart number, your unique name. And so if that chart is for, well, let's say Jennifer, since we've been working with Jennifer's progress report in this demonstration, we would want chart 23 to be listed as her chart. So one little thing that you need to remember when we're inserting charts into our data file, the bookmark names need to start with chart underscore. So it has to look like that. Chart underscore, that, you know, Gabriel can attest as part of the macro. But you can see here on this slide, chart underscore homework is our homework chart, and chart underscore Q is our quiz chart. And we have, in this example here, quiz chart, homework chart, and you can see the individual numbers for each student. They have their own unique charts. The last sheet is the code info sheet, and this is where you get to insert that row number. Where does your data start? And remember, it was row 4. So that's what we do. We just insert 4, and we let it know, hey, data's starting in row 4. So when the macro runs, it'll go through and start populating at row 4. Do we have any questions on the 4 sheets, the 4 Excel spreadsheets, organizing data in Excel? And that's what we mean, organizing data. We have a setup sheet, we have a data sheet, we have a chart sheet. You may not need a chart sheet. It may be something you don't want. And then we have the setup sheet, the code info sheet. Questions? We have multiple attendees. Trevor asked you a question, Gabriel.
Yeah, so in this case, the macro is not generating the charts. You have to generate the charts yourself before running the macro.
Are we going to review the code? We don't go into the VBA code here, Mary. It's located in the Excel file. And Gabriel, they can basically take that macro and pretty much copy it, correct? and put it into an Excel,
Right.
a different Excel?
Yeah. If you're familiar with macros in Excel, you can find the code, and it's not protected or anything. It's there for you to view and edit as you wish.
And there's another question from Florian. So each student has his or her personal chart. Charts are not being generated automatically based on Excel info.
That's correct. When you're using this with charts, you need to go in and create the charts yourself manually. Add in the data, format the chart, get it all ready to go. Basically, the macro is copying that chart from Excel to Word for you. That's all the macro is doing.
And Will has a question. So this file is one that we save and can just populate and run as needed?
Yeah, I assume you're referring to the Excel file. Yeah, that would be the easiest way. If you're not familiar with macros and editing them, the easiest way is to just use this Excel file and, maybe add or delete columns and add or delete rows with the data that you want, and then the macro is already there for you and you can just run it.
And Trevor says there are probably macros for generating charts. He's probably right. We didn't include it in macro, Trevor.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And for sure, if users are familiar with the macros, it'd be not too complicated to have the macro also generate the charts. But in this case, we wanted to kind of keep the macro simple. Because the more complicated the macro is, obviously the more rules and things that you have to follow. So this is a simple macro that does the basic functions for you. But again, you're free to edit the macro and do all kinds of custom.
And in the setup sheet, how do you know which column number to list for the chart? It could be any column. Are you talking about where it's located? You would populate that one column. That would be chart underscore if it's homework, chart underscore homework. And if it's in the first column, then that would be, column 1, if you numbered it that way. Or are you asking about the chart numbers that are on the chart worksheet? Just waiting for Carrie's response. Okay.
Yeah, just remember that the setup sheet is, the columns on the setup sheet refer to the column in the data sheet that has the appropriate information. So for instance, for the charts, your data sheet contains the name of the charts in column, let's say F, which is the 6th column. So on a setup sheet, you would say column number 6.
Great. Carrie's got it. That's great. Thank you. Thanks, Gabriel.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about step 4. We're going to run some code. Yay. Running the code. Now let's create our reports. This is the fun part. First thing we need to be sure of is enabling the macros in the Excel file. You just click on that button, Enable Content. Some of you may have already done it. That's fine. You've enabled your content. You've enabled macro. It's just letting it work. The next thing that you need to do is click on the Create Reports button. So if you've entered the row in which the data starts and you click on that button, this will start the automation process. This is where it's going to start creating the numerous reports. All the action's going to happen. So when you click on that Create Reports button, you probably saw this in the first demonstration, a pop-up came out and it said to select Word template file. Now you may have multiple template files that you create. After building the first one, you have different ones that you'd like to build. You can select the file that you want. So you go to that .x file. In this case, it's REL project.x. And then did I go too far? Go back. We select the folder location. So with the folder location, this Gabriel added, and we're really appreciative of it, you can tell the program where to store your completed reports. So in this case, I'm saving the completed reports in a folder called completed dashboards. You know, a lot of originality there, but it works for this. And Gabriel, what was our reasoning for doing this? We had people who were working on shared folders.
Yeah, that's right. And originally the macro saved the files in the same folder where your Excel file was, where your Excel data file is. And sometimes that wasn't completely obvious to the user. So we want to make it explicit that the user could pick their location where the saved files would go to, and then they'd be able to easily find that location.
Thanks. And so the once for a folder, it automatically will populate your report. So let's see that three-step process, four-step process one more time. And hopefully I'll be able to see it with you. Technical difficulties, I apologize. Is it playing? Gabriel, is it playing now? There it is. So there's our template file, and we can see our bookmarks. They're all available. And if we go to our bookmarks tab, there are all our bookmarks ready, available for us. And if you go to it, you can see there is classwork average. And there it is, classwork average. We'll go back to our Word file. Close this out. And we're going to look at some data. Classwork, remember it's in column 6. We go to column 6, and there it is. Classwork, there's a classwork average for our students. Go back to our setup sheet. We check out the chart sheet, and here, this is chart number 40. We go back to the data, and we'll find chart 40 is for our student. Go back to setup, and there it is. Chart underscore HW for homework. Showing this all. And going back to the setup sheet. Code info sheet. We need to put our number. There it is, 4. Data starts in row 4. Just verify. There it is. Click on Create Reports, and then the magic will happen. We called this REL example. This is our Word template file. Our completed dashboard folder is where we want it to be stored. See, there's nothing there now. And through the wonders of technology, it's going to start to populate. So there it is. Just going through our 21 students, populating their data. If we open one up, you can see. You can see it filling in. It's pretty neat. I really wish I had this when I was a middle school teacher back in the day. So you could see how it's populating. Pretty cool. There it goes, populating our data. Putting in the quiz. And there we have all of our data, all of our reports, 21, in less than a minute. That's not too bad. Are there any questions at all about the automation process, this 4-step process? This is your chance to ask Gabriel and I any questions, and we will do our best to answer. How much space does this take up on your PC?
So
Gabriel.
these are just a normal Word file and a normal Excel file, so it really shouldn't take up much space. I think, maybe less than a megabyte typically.
We have multiple attendees typing. Okay. Oh, so people are going through.
So for Naomi's question, you may need to browse to the location where you saved the Word template. So wherever you saved it on your computer, you may need to find that folder and select that Word template. The other
it might be in downloads if.
Yeah, might be in downloads or something like that. The other possible reason is if it wasn't saved as a Word template file, in other words, the .x file, then you won't be able to see it. So you may need to go back in and resave it as a .x. For Catherine's question, yeah, you can save this and use it anywhere you like. Any PC, any computer, you save it to a thumb drive, anywhere. For Ruth's question, so depending on how high the security is set on your PC, you may need to go into the options for your Excel program and change the security settings. And for that, it's probably best to maybe Google how do I change my macro security for Excel. That's probably the best way to tell you how to do that. For Beverly, also, I think that one you need to find where you saved that Word template. Just navigate to that folder, and you should be able to see it. For Mary's question, whether you PDF it or not is up to you. You can if you like. The reports, once they're generated, they don't actually have any links, so you don't have to worry about breaking links or anything like that. They're standalone reports, and you can do anything you want with them just like a regular Word file.
Will's comment is cracking me up. Yes, the presentation is very big. It has a lot of screen captures.
Yeah.
Oh, Janet's comment, Gabriel.
So Janet, I think your question is which column number you use for the setup sheet. And remember, for the setup sheet, you're putting in the column number that represents that information on the data sheet. So on your data sheet, you'll have a single column where you have the name of all of the charts. So you enter in the column number that contains those names. On the charts sheet, you don't have to worry about what column the chart is. You just need to make sure that each chart has a unique name.
Error creating Word file.
So I've run into this issue a couple of times, error creating Word file, and that could happen for a couple of different reasons. The macro actually ensures that the Word file is not write protected and that it's not open. So you may need to, in some cases, open the Word file and save it to a location where you know that you have both read and write permission, and then save it to some kind of a unique name so that it's not write protected or anything like that. So there's some technical differences between a .x and a .m. In this case, you need to use the .x because the macro is specifically looking for a .x file. So the Word documents will be labeled, or I'm assuming you mean the file name, is generated by the first column of information in your data sheet. So in this case, on the data sheet, the first column is the student name, and so the macro just uses that to name each one of the reports. So if you wanted to give it a unique file name, you could also have a column there. The very first column could be the file name.
Can't execute code in break mode.
That one I have not seen before.
I have not seen that one either.
My only suggestion there would maybe be to close Word and close Excel and try again. I don't have a perfect solution for that one. Sorry, Stephanie.
Tracy has one. Can't find project or library error.
Okay, for that one, my question there would be what version of Windows you're using and what version of Excel. We have had some issues with version control, so we probably need to get some more information from you, Tracy, and find out. I personally am using Windows 7 with Excel 2010, 64-bit edition, and it works very well. I've tried a few other combinations, and most of them seem to be working, but it does seem to have issues with some versions, especially 32-bit versions of Windows.
And Hank has a question in parking lot. Gabriel?
I have an error when I run the report for transferring data for name. Yeah, it looks like you said that the bookmark is matching, but that would be my only suggestion is just double check your bookmark and make sure
there isn't a space before it too. That was my error. Remember I had a space right before the start of the bookmark name?
That's right.
Okay. So everyone has run their macro. I'm taking it. Has run the data. I'm just gonna let people continue here, and being told we have 5 minutes while people are typing. So this really take us through to our final questions here. I have Windows 2011 for Mac. Can I follow the same instructions?
So I think the concept of the instruction should be exactly the same. The details of maybe what buttons to click to, for instance, show bookmarks and things like that are going to be a little bit different. But conceptually, it should be the same. So you need to go into Word and create your template and put the bookmarks in, and then you can use the Excel file to run the macro. So conceptually the same, the details are a little bit different.
Okay, Sharon, if you can close this up, we're going to keep going. And we've done that. Everyone's run their macro. Any final questions? You can type them in the parking lot. Sharon, we're going to just keep going here. Here are the resources, a resource on data dashboards to learn data dashboards, some Excel basics, and here's a little bit more about VBA code. If you'd like to keep, if you continue to run into some issues, please come to our forum. Both Gabriel and I will be glad to answer questions to help you, because we want you to be able to use this tool. That's one of the reasons that REL Mid-Atlantic created all of this. And here are some upcoming webinars. And for our Mac users, we're going to be focusing on this on November 20th, and we have some teacher effectiveness webinar series and the Ask an Expert online chat, some great webinars coming up in the next couple of months. Please, tell your friends, tell your colleagues, come and join us. And please take a moment to complete our participant satisfaction feedback survey. Your comments are really important to us, and we have made changes. As I told you, this is the 7th time that we've conducted this webinar, and we made improvements all along, and it's thanks to your feedback. So we truly appreciate you spending time with us today. And, please just please complete the survey and give us your feedback. And I think it's going to send you to the survey right now. So if you can take a moment and have pity on the poor presenter who is having technical difficulties today. And thank you for participating. Here's my email address, and please feel free to contact me with any questions. And Gabriel and I will definitely get back to you. Thanks again for your time, everyone.